Okay, we're back with more Unity of Command. This is a really cool tactical RPG, well, tactical game, I guess, simply an RPG. The premise is it's kind of like Go, the board game, where it's more about your territory control and surrounding the enemy to cut them off from their supply lines. So there is like unit-on-unit combat, but more what you're trying to do is to cut the enemy off from their supplies and cause them to starve out rather than beat them through combat traditionally. So a couple things here. There's a supply network. I've got these cities. The cities generate a certain amount of supply that's distant from them, and if an area is robbed of supply, any of my units that are standing there will starve to death. So like these characters here with the red exclamation point are in danger of starving, and I've done the same to a couple of the computer characters. I'm not very good at this game yet because it's very different from something like Advance Wars. But I'm learning, so if anyone is familiar with the game and has tips to help me out, feel free to share. Right now I think I'm just basically sending my units to kill dudes and try to cut them off as best as I can. Still have my tanks. You see as I move, the red space that they have shrinks, which impacts their ability to defend themselves, basically. We can build bridges to cross the rivers. The rivers are pretty interesting in this game. I think I have the ability to request one of them here. You can destroy bridges tactically, which is kind of cool. Destroy in order to like shut down their supply lines. I think all of my options right now are destruction related, and I would like to be able to build to be able to get to them to fight. So I built one bridge here. Right. Anyone that's starving can't move, which is unfortunate. Pretty much just leave their starving units alone as far as I can tell. Yeah, now that I've surrounded these guys, they're not really a threat to me anymore. At least I can move away from them, which I think prevents them from being able to attack. And I've got some throwaway units in this game. I forget what these guys, the Romanian infantry, yeah. You kind of use them as sacrificial lambs. So that guy would not be fun for me to attack. We kind of just want to hold the fort here to keep him from trying to claim more territory when their turn starts. No one else is able to cross the river right now. I think that shows casualty projection, if I recall. Yeah, okay. So I want to see a 0 on my side in the projection. Try to end turn here and see what happens. Yeah, so there's like airstrikes you can call in, and if they don't kill the enemy, they at least suppress them, which impacts their combat capability. When they do that dig thing, they get entrenched, basically. Then they have these partisans, which are like a special ability that lets them claim territory without actually putting units there. It's kind of cool. I'm not sure what the grayed out section of the hex map means right now. It's new as far as I can tell. Oh, it's raining. Interesting. I'm guessing that affects combat efficacy. Okay. I want to try to get back over this bridge here. It's probably overkill. Okay, we killed him. Try to cross the bridge. 3 suppressions with the tank seems pretty good. And keep trying to cut them off as best as we can here. Those guys are dug in and they're in a city, which I think is bad for me. So a lot of this isn't aggressively attacking on each turn. It's like holding fronts, claiming territory, that sort of a thing. Ooh, they were able to get some shots in on my tank there, yikes. That seems really bad. Let's not do that. I can try to cut him off, though, if I can find another unit. I think if there's a lightning bolt, a glowing lightning bolt icon on a character, that means they haven't acted yet. Send some of these guys to reclaim the territory that the partisans took. Okay. These guys are going to starve out soon, so they're not really any threat. These guys are cavalry. We don't want to mess with them at the moment. Do you want to send this guy was starving earlier, but I used him to reclaim a city a second ago. I'll probably leave someone stationed there. Try to come in a little bit further and pull more territory for them to get them stuck. I guess if they're dug in, they're particularly resistant to air attacks. So I gotta be careful with using that on dug-in units. It's kind of a waste of the action. I think that's good for me. Just know the Romanians are not very motivated. Oh, I see. I've moved my characters into some areas that are far outside of my supply range, so I need to capture one of their cities over the river to get more supply, or the people I've moved in that direction are going to be in trouble soon. I think I get it. Okay. Let's pass and see what the computer does. How is the second one? What all did they change from this one? Rude. Partisans. Looks like they're trying to save their stranded units there. I really need to capture the city. Oof. That tank's out of... I should probably suppress this guy as much as possible. Although it says odds -2 since he's in a city, so maybe I shouldn't bother. Almost dead. Shit. Finally. Oh, but he's still not all the way dead. He's only mostly dead. Mostly dead. Slightly alive. I really gotta capture this city, though. Oh, I see. It's because he's got suppressed units. The gray pips are units that weren't dead, but just suppressed. Okay, they've got 2 turns till they're out of supplies. We really got to capture something soon, or it's going to be bad news bears. Second game is the Western Front, and it's quite different. I think that means that this guy is cut off from his supply network, but I'm not actually 100% sure how that works. He's not dug in. Jesus. Cavalry's not fucking around, okay. Let's just try to hold the line here and stop attacking unnecessarily. Hopefully I'll be able to finish this guy off next term and get some more supply after capturing his city. Oh, because I ran out of turns to kill them. Interesting. Loss. Campaign record. Campaign over. I see. So this replays the whole map. Alright, so can I do replay from start? Now that I've learned more lessons. The first, like, tutorial map doesn't really require you to take advantage of the cutting people off from their supply mechanic as much. You can just play it as a straight tactical game and be fairly successful. Oh, replay from start. That's not what I meant, game. Thanks, though. Reload campaign. Reload campaign. I think we were Stalingrad Axis. Yeah, okay. Victory in 9 turns, decisive victory in 6 turns, capture every objective on time. Circle and then decisively crush the enemy. Alright, let's try again. That was a good learning experience, though. I've got a better understanding of the game. I need to do a better job of defending my cities. Yeah, the supply source, so it's like showing you the range from that supply source, and it doesn't count in areas that count as red territory, right? So we want to try to take advantage of their bridges here. Unfortunately, they're already pretty dug in on this side, which is really bad for me. So it's like you want to find holes in their defense, I guess. Like this guy's not dug in, so I've got a better chance of being able to fight them, I think. Just projecting losses. I'll lose 3, they'll only lose 2. I can't get a tank up there this turn, right? Okay, there's already suppressed characters there. I think once they're suppressed, there's not a lot I can do to do more damage to them. Some kills in on the holes in their defenses here. Then maybe I'll have a chance of killing them with my characters at the top there. That went not great for me, unfortunately. I can move him out of the way to try to send somebody else in. Okay, so we got an opening, that's good. I won't be able to take advantage of it until next turn, so they're probably going to fill the hole. I don't think I actually can move this character out of the way to try to gain him some space there. I guess I can now. Okay. Perfect. We got another hole. Don't have anyone that could move far enough to get in there, though. Again, the computer's probably just going to fill those holes. Let's try to cut this guy off if we can. Looking for soldiers that aren't dug in. Ooh, overrun. Nice. And if I had another adjacent unit, I could attack them again there. Beautiful. You got a chance to try to run away there. Okay, we still want to hold the line. We don't want to have holes in our own defense here. Which I unfortunately have several because I haven't really been thinking about it from that perspective. Yeah, so they can just roll right through here if I don't finish my line. I think I'm safe up in this corner because they have to cross a bridge to get to me. Select next unit. Select units which can receive reinforcements. Yeah, I'd like to, I guess, dig some of them in. His character got overrun, but it doesn't have anything else to do on the same turn, so he can't like attack again or anything like that. So I do entrench. I think I have to spend a turn like unentrenching them. Remove any unit from the map that disband, all its steps are lost. Reorganizing is better. Changes to reorganize if it's eligible. I don't think I really learned how that mechanic works. Trench. We've gotten everyone that is entrenchable as far as I can tell. Oh wait, no, they've got more down here. Let's do that. I'm not clear on whether it's correct for entrenched units to like face off against each other. I guess it's saying that I'm happy with this line and I don't want to use these soldiers for anything but defense, which maybe isn't ideal for the characters I just selected, so we'll see what happens on this turn. Yeah, so I left a hole down here at the bottom, and they're absolutely taking advantage of it now. So I think this game is a lot about just building vision, like where is the weak point in this formation that I can attack, right? So they were really trying to get through that hole in my defenses there. Probably not great that the cavalry made it out there. And their partisans are getting a lot of control there too, unfortunately. Yeah, all these units just lost supply because of what they did. Or they're about to be out of supply. Let me look at the graph here. Yeah, because I've been cut off from here. So I need to reclaim a lot of this if I can. Let's see. Okay, he is out of supply now. And I have not gotten my supply back. Do I have it now? I think it takes another turn for supply to propagate out, so it's not going to project it until after that. Okay. These guys over here are in big trouble. Probably want to restart this map again. They only get supplied at the start of your turn, so you can't project what supply is going to look like on the next turn, basically. Access. Okay. Third time's a charm. Don't leave holes. In fact, open by trying to fill them. Overrun. Nice. Oh, but he ran away. Okay. Head there. Hold that spot. Project what the enemy might do and defend against it. Sure. Armenians are not good. Fighting. Main hole in their defenses was over here. Let's see. Actually, I don't know what there's an icon on here. It's like an experienced unit or something. Or like an officer, maybe? Ooh, he ran away. That's cool. If we can get behind these guys on the front line, we can cut them off, potentially. Ah, not quite. No, there's a hole now, though. Much more strategically oriented than a typical strategy game. Yeah, this reminds me of Go, which, like, Go to me is not a tactics game, it's a strategy game. If chess is a tactics game, then Go is a strategy game. It's not about really what are you doing on this turn, it's like what is your plan over the next several dozen turns, right? I didn't realize that on the tutorial map just kind of teaches you the core mechanics of the game and gives you a map that's very playable like a traditional tactics game like Advance Wars, but this is really, it feels like it's not meant to be played like that. Army's gotta eat. I do have one hole in my defenses that they're probably gonna try to abuse here. I don't really have any extra soldiers that I can spare. I guess the river, they'd have to cross the river here. So I could give up a little bit of ground in order to hold this spot. I think that makes sense. All right. Digging in provides defensive benefits, so there's an initial penalty of 2 suppressed, like the pips. Okay. So being dug in doesn't really start to help you until you've been dug in for a few turns, it sounds like. Be careful doing anything on the other side of the river here, sacrificing the front. Hey, thanks for the follow, Duckyu. This game has a bit of a learning curve over similar games I've played, but it feels surmountable, which I think is cool. Like, you can often tell when you make a mistake. Like, oh, I shouldn't have moved that unit there, or I should have covered that spot. It doesn't take you like 20 minutes after you make the mistake to realize what you did wrong. I don't know if this is correct to dig everyone in on the front, but I'm going to give it a shot. Looks like the computer has effectively done that for most of their units, so let's see what happens. I don't think you can save scum in this game. Like, I don't think you can make mid-level saves. They really want to get through this hole over here, don't they? Every time I've done this map, they've opened something up there. Definitely better than last attempt, though. I think if they were dug in, they sacrifice being dug in when they move, which makes sense. That was lucky. Oof, overrun. At least they killed each other there. Okay, so I want to try to get behind them if I can. If I can fill in this whole area, they're going to be screwed because they'll be so far away from their potential supplies. I think that retreat thing is a thing that can just happen automatically based on troop morale or something like that. Fucking partisans. Alright, let me see if they already desupplied anybody. It looks like they did, despite my better efforts. Okay. So I don't have a lot of time to get them supplied before they first are unable to move and then are unable to attack and then just die of starvation. Both of these can only move one space forward, unfortunately. That's good. I think their inability to move further is due to having their supply cut off. Thank goodness for overrun. Ooh, that was a really shitty turn for me. I think that means I killed an officer, if I read that right. He did some damage to me there, though. Whoa. Okay. Well, that was a mistake. Hopefully a rectifiable one, but... should probably try to kill this cavalry guy. My tanks just are not doing damage the way I'd like them to. I want to be careful with moving folks that are dug in here. Looks like you can ford the river using an entire movement space if you're right next to it at the start of your turn. If I can try to go around back and screw at them here, that would be really nice. I don't think it's quite that easy, though. It might be that only infantry are allowed to move across the water like that, too. See if I can suppress this guy more, and then I can attack him with impunity. Can't really get anyone else closer to block this guy, right? Keep you dug in for now. Because if they were just dug in, they can't dig themselves in again, basically. Does that make sense? I'll hold the line up here as best as I can. I'd be careful just attacking willy-nilly. Takes a while for the game to carve the mechanics under your flesh. That's a good way to put it. These guys are still going to starve, and I don't know if I'm going to be able to save them. We'll see. Leave my tank alone. It's super rude. Breached. This guy's completely cut off. I want that partisan ability for myself. It's like individual rebels, basically, and these guys are already so out of supply that they can't do anything this turn at all. Yikes. And I can't get anyone down there to save the day. Man, this is even worse than my first attempt. In my first attempt, I wasn't trying to take into account the core mechanic. Yikes. Right. Yeah, it's being blocked here. Big oof. I can't even stop this guy because I can't attack him anymore. Yikes. Would lose everyone if I did that, so let's not. I think I should basically be moving everyone further forward every turn. Although you have to be careful with sending your units too far forward, because when you do, you move them further from your supply and you make it more likely that they'll get screwed on a future turn. He's getting a little bit too far away from his supply. So I guess I can try to get them to flee closer to where I do have supply. Maybe that's the plan here. Get them onto a space that has food, basically. This isn't going to let from them running away to get supply, it's going to let the computer run straight forward, though, since I'm not blocking them anymore. So this one might already be... I might already be donezo. Again. It's okay, I'm learning lessons each time. I think I probably need to play more defensively on the first turn instead of trying to, like, rush cut them off as quickly as possible. Like, the computer definitely wants to take this area down here as quickly as possible, so I should probably try to stop them from doing that. I'll play this out before I restart. I'm just curious what's going to happen next turn. I think this game reminds me most of those like hardcore tabletop war games that I've never played, but I've seen played at like local game stores. Definitely had some friends who were into them. Killing my starving soldiers, you guys. This game's inspired a computer game called Panzer General, which inspired this. Gotcha. I do like how it seems like this genre is really good at using video game rules to mimic, like, real-life combat. Let's see, what's the supply situation now? They're getting even better at cutting me off, aren't they? Make sure you don't die next turn. Whoa, I didn't mean to click there. Oops. These guys are all cut off over here. I meant to click him to demonstrate, but I accidentally got him in battle. I think if these guys are going to die soon, but if I can cut off this here, this is going to be bad for all these soldiers in the corner, I think. Can I see how their supply works? Oh, it just tells me the range. Supply source captured. Oh, that's why they didn't die that turn. Gotcha. So this is still lost, but... So I was under the impression that supply only came from cities, but I think it comes from locations near cities. Not necessarily the city itself in a lot of cases. Let's see. These guys are all cut off, so we sort of leave them in that state. Supply in one turn. Can't really move any further in, I don't think. Out of supply in 1 turn. Guys dug in a city. Be careful with that. I can only blow up my own bridges. I can build a couple new ones, but I don't think that's saving me right now. Supply comes from the spots it indicates and flows based on terrain with rail lines directly connected to supply, providing unlimited flow. The rail lines are the dotted lines on the ground, is that right? And those are just a feature of the map. It's not something that I can build, right? King partisans. Okay, so they've improved their supply situation that turn. I see. This cavalry guy is super annoying. It's going to be out of supply soon, though, so I'm just going to try to ignore him for now. That guy's pretty much just going to stay put. Interesting. So I guess if you move into a space to claim terrain, that ends your movement. I suppose that makes sense. Let me look at my current supply situation. Let's try to get these guys in range of it if I can. So I could have moved him up to get to Poltava. That would have gotten me a better situation there. Next, reinforceable units. Shall dig in if you can. Alright, so yeah, I'm mostly trying to focus here on... Oh, that's extremely bad. I don't know if that means he got supply by doing that. Let's see. Should probably have a unit on every one of my cities and just leave them there for the whole game. Dig them in, right? Are there any, like, tabletop war games that grew out of, like, actual, government war games or military war games? Rating. Fan squad leader, the video game Harpoon. They can't go because there's a river there. Okay, that makes sense. Oh, can I do undo? There, seems better. Get you in range of supplies, you don't starve to death. Seems good. Let's just basically move as far as they can for now, right? This is turn 6, and I have to capture all cities by turn 9. I think 6-gun, I'm new enough to this kind of game that it's probably going to take me several sessions before I even win the first map. But I think I'm learning something each time I make a mistake, so. History of war games. Oh, that's cool. So the sort of thing that's often played over a long period of time, right? Actually, let's not do that. Oh, I should use my suppressing fire. Does he count as being in a town right now? Odds -2 probably means don't bother. One of the best minds in strategy games. Volko Runk used to work for the CIA. Oh, interesting. I didn't realize how important games were to, like, policy making. I was listening to that pandemic talk by Bill Gates where he's talking about how there should have been germ games that we should have been running for like the past decade, and we just haven't done it for a long time, and the one time we did, it was miserable. Oh, I see he's resupplying from the town, I guess. They're basically all supplied again. Alright, I had to run a little bit longer on this map to understand better what mistakes I was making, and boy golly was I making mistakes. Oh, no, I like the concept. It's up to you. I'd be happy to keep playing it, though, because I enjoy it. Like, this is a game where I'm losing, but I don't mind losing. It's like, oh, this... I can see where I made these mistakes, and the computer made advances. I'll try to not repeat those next time, right? This guy has been a huge problem for me in previous attempts. He kind of just single-handedly has come and taken a lot of territory. I think that was very good to kill him there. Oops, that was an accident. I can only go back one move. I guess that makes sense. In case like you misclick or something. Nice overrun. I assume a lot of the battles in this game are based on like real battles where this was like actually what the front looked like ish. Somewhat abstracted because it has to for it to be a video game. Yeah, I'm using a mouse. The U.S. Navy defeated Japan in World War II because they wargamed a Pacific campaign against the Japanese every year from 1920 to 1938. Wow. Yeah, I heard about that. I think the Bush-Obama transition is the one that Bill Gates talks about in his talk. That's the one that they did it, and we were like woefully underprepared. You scroll the wheel. Oh, you mean like they could move further instead of attacking, basically? Thank you, that's super helpful. It's like sacrifice your movement to get a little bit further along, I guess. Or sacrifice your attack to get further. Double move. Perfect. I think if I advance there, it opens a hole in my line, so I don't want to do that just yet. I'm a really big fan of tactics games like this that start the map in some configuration. Like, my favorite levels in Advance Wars 2 so far are the ones where you can't build your own units. It gives you a preset number and that they're already laid out in a certain way that tells me, like, this is a puzzle that you're supposed to solve. I feel like in games where they make you create units, they're also asking you to design the game. You know how many units are necessary for the stage to be winnable, and then execute. Which I think is fun for a certain crowd of folks that are into mastery in games. Like, I'm good at this game because I've played a lot of it, and I know that you need to have 3 barracks and 40 Marines in order for the stage to be winnable. Or whatever. Let's see what happens on the end of turn 1 here. So the lightning bolt, they have an action or attack. Lightning bolts can be sacrificed for additional movement, sure. Okay, computer's still trying to take that southern section. They don't have that cavalry that was out in the front anymore. So I think that helps me a little bit. Scenarios. Starting with some part of the map already laid out. I'm not super clear on how fleeing works. There's just a chance for that to happen if they take a significant amount of damage or something. I can see how it's very bad when it does happen. Fucking partisans, tell you what. Okay, so these guys are all cut off now, and that's extremely bad. Let's try to make that not be true anymore if we can. That was unfortunate. Overrun is nice. That was so close. Okay, I need to cover this space again. Send them off this way to try to hide. You cross the river and try to take him from behind. I think that's still a good idea. Percentage chance when attacking depending on various stats of the units, I see. So, like, high morale units, like the actual Germans, are more likely to stay put, but maybe if the Romanians are attacked because they're fairly... what's the word? Uninvested, they're more likely to run. I see. I think I took my lesson from the last episode too seriously. My lesson last episode was avoid combat if you can and try to win through territory control. Because before that I was just doing all the combat I possibly could on the front. And that doesn't mean that I can get away with not doing combat at all, it turns out. You still gotta shoot them a bunch. That was not good. Let's keep marching forward where we can. One. Two. Let's not do that. Okay, so supply is looking okay right now. It's probably not going to at the end of the turn. So something that's interesting about the way this game works is that your supply being cut off is something that happens immediately at the start of your turn. Like, supply happens at the start of your turn, so if the computer manages to cut you off at the end of their turn, it impacts you immediately, but it takes you a full turn to get it back once you've lost it. So I think it kind of favors the attacker in that respect. Let's get the Romanian away from the front here and send someone. Good. Are there any bridges I can build, or bridges I can destroy? I guess you could like abandon a position and then destroy the bridge on your way out from it in order to keep the computer from taking ground. It seems like a thing that happens in real life too. It's unfortunate. Overrun, nice. Okay, that's looking good actually. I'm pretty happy with that. Really making him flee here. To counterbalance the defenders having a significant advantage in combat. Sure. So the defender is likely to win in a straight fight, but if you're able to win the fight and cut off the opponent, they feel the penalties for it basically immediately. That's really cool. Two to 1, 3 to 0. These don't sound good. I could try to move up and try getting around, but I think they're going to move through the hole in my defenses that would create. These guys are already starting to be out of supply because of shenanigans I've already done. So, okay, if a unit is almost out of supply, that means that I don't really have to worry about them trying to advance on me, right? Because if they advance, they're getting even further from their supply, which is bad for them. Let's see what happens if I pass here. Rude. They can still move and cut off my supply. So they might like sacrifice themselves just to do that, basically. I wish this game there was a way that you could reveal the computer's intent, like it moved here because it's trying to get supply back or whatever. King partisans. The worst. Yeah, that was a really bad turn. Okay. Opening that back up was a good decision. That would make them trade, which isn't great. I got unlucky on that second pass, I think. These guys are too hungry to be able to fight adequately. Shit, most of these guys are, aren't they? Jeez. Two. That seems really bad. I think you can attack and then flee. That's kind of cool. That would be bad. Okay. That would also be bad. I'll have to wait for this guy to finish starving to death. Wish I could see this while I'm controlling the units. You kind of just have to remember and imagine. So you can only move forward a maximum of one space into enemy territory at a time, regardless of your current possible movement, right? And all enemy soldiers body block you all the time, pretty much. Guess if I could suppress a tank, I'd have a better chance of being able to take it out with infantry. If it projects like that, it's probably worth at least trying. 0-1 my casualties to their casualties projection. Oh, nice. Supply. Oh, you should get it next turn as long as they don't block me again. You move their enemy territory without any particular constraint. The controlling factors are terrain and nearby enemy units, which can block more than one adjacent move if they're strong enough. I see. See if anyone else can do some free-ish damage. I don't think so. Hungarians aren't particularly motivated either, it seems like. Two to 1. 1 to 1. Alright, let's see what happens. We're about at time for this episode. I want to get just a hair further and see what happens here. I don't really see the matrix in this game yet. Like, I can't see the supply automatically or see what the benefit of having terrain is. I just know that, like, if there's a group of my units that are cut off from my other units, that's bad, and if I cut off the computer's units, that's good. But, like, what that actually means from a math perspective is beyond me right now. I'll have to play it more to get it. And Nodovan was watching last time, was getting a lot of feedback, like, oh, if you just move that character down one space, you'll completely cut them off. And I'm like, really? Okay. That sounds cool. That sounds like a thing that I want to do. God, the partisans just super rough. Really get me in trouble. So, like, that's a good thing, what I just did. So basically trap this tank in here. See if someone else can kill this guy. I don't want to waste my tank on it. I think I'm actually doing okay with supply this time. Slightly better with it, I should say. Fled. Getting a feel for supply and a feel for terrain are the sticking points. Terrain is just like the obvious stuff, like the rivers and the forests, right? Is there anything else about hexes that it isn't clearly visible on the screen? Fuck with that guy some more would be cool. The enemy tank dead center screen and took a territory with a railroad on it and it cut your line. You left an open space for it at the end of last turn and had a unit you could have moved to plug it. So I gotta be looking at these dotted lines better. We're at time, but I just want to make sure I leave my future self with more information if Sixgun wants to keep this on subblock. I know Donovan was talking about adding it to the voting spreadsheet, which I'd be down with. So if I'm developing Unity of Command vision, I need to learn that the dotted railroad lines are really important and that I shouldn't let the computer land on them at all if possible. That either means blocking them with a front or like physically positioning units on top of it to protect it, right? I think the supply point at the bottom is crucial. Yeah, and that seems to be what the computer is doing for the most part. The computer keeps trying to come and stop this line. Every time I've lost on this map, it's because they've come down here and successfully cut me off. Right. So, future Marstead, do a better job of protecting that. Again, this game is a territory game. It's about encircling the enemy and denying them supply. It's also, just because that's true doesn't mean that it's not also about the combat part of it. So do check with your units on the front. See if there are any combats that project no losses for you and losses for the enemy. You may as well do those in most cases. Right now, a lot of these guys are... Okay, here's one that doesn't have a loss, for example. It doesn't mean you're guaranteed to knock out one, but you may as well try whenever it projects that. Don't forget that you've got air attacks. It probably helps for suppressing units, especially these tanks. And keep trying. This will be like your 4th or 5th attempt on this map, but this is learning how to play Unity of Command. You're going to have to fail at it several times until you grok it. Cool. And I think just to confirm, if I do continue current, it picks me back up there. So for this game, I'm not good at this game and I'm not good at RTS games, but this is the fun kind of bad at a game, because I feel like every time I lose, I've learned something, and I get pretty immediate feedback when I fuck up. Basically, the way that the supply system works, if I make a mistake, I know that I made a mistake right away, because the computer punishes me for it immediately. It doesn't wait like 3 turns to screw me over for leaving that that railroad line open. I think also the game having close to perfect information is very helpful. I mean, you don't know for sure the results of combat because there's some randomization there, but there's not like, at least not on this stage, there's not like fog of war. They're not like, oh, I need to play through the map, see what it actually looks like, and then restart it from scratch to figure out what's going to happen. If I push the middle to Kupiansk, I can cut off the whole northern flank of their line. Okay, I'll try to keep that in mind for next time. I like it. I want games like this to punish me brutally. That's how you learn. At least that's how I learn. I learn better when... I'm going to keep talking about this for a minute because it's interesting to me, and people watching the VOD might be interested. There's a concept in MMO fight design called time to death, right? That like if you're going to make a mistake at the beginning of an MMO fight, you should know that that was a mistake immediately. The boss should just use an attack that wipes you. You don't want to make a DPS mistake in the first 2 minutes and then die 11 minutes in. And I don't think every game needs to follow that rule, but I really like when they do. If I miss a dodge, I want it to kill me right now and nuke me. I don't want to find that out later because it makes it harder for me to learn. Yeah, you die, but at least you know you fucked up. Exactly. So I think Unity of Command excels in that area, and it's a very interesting game. Thanks for sharing it, Sixgun.